Welcome to IANO on episode 8. Checking in here from Buffalo, New York. My name is Kevin Ray Lavello. A little fun fact for you. Jägermeister's ingredients include 56 herbs, fruits, roots, and spices, including citrus peel, licorice, anise, poppy seeds, saffron, ginger, juniper berries, and ginseng. These ingredients are ground, then steeped in water and in alcohol for 2 to 3 days. So in case you didn't know that, that is what Jaeger's ingredients are. And with that, pull this big guy out. Thanks for joining. Cheers. Stephen Wood, happy 32nd birthday, brother. I love you. Happy birthday, Steve. And it looks like your daughter's walking. Awesome. Cheers. Some Jaeger at noon. Well, thank you for joining. I have a really cool episode today. My first Metallica episode, long time coming. Just to start off with the fact of the day. Today, Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill came out in 1995. So Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill is 25 years old. If you ask me, that's one of the biggest alternative records of the decade. It is multi-platinum from this, young girl out of Canada who had something to say about her breakups and so on. Taylor Hawkins, drummer of Foo Fighters, he was actually the drummer on that tour for her. He wasn't on the record, but he toured with her on that record, which is pretty cool. If you didn't know that. So happy birthday to Jagged Little Pill. I know Mike Holden, God rest his soul, we used to imitate Alanis all the time. I'm not going to give it my all here, but, that kind of stuff. We used to laugh about that a lot. But one more other fact for today, Rivers Cuomo of Weezer. He is now 50 years old. The lead singer of Weezer is 50 years old. He's a guy, from what I understand, he was from California and Los Angeles. He was in the Metallica cover bands on the Sunset Strip throughout the early 90s and late 80s. Probably didn't know that, which is a pretty cool fun fact. My thing about Weezer, I like Weezer. I like the Chili Peppers, that kind of California vibe when they get, the island in the sun and stuff like that. But there was one time that I printed out the lyrics to a song called Hash Pipe. And the song is off the Green album, came out in 2001. I printed out the lyrics to Hash Pipe in 2001. I was 13 years old, and I left it on the coffee table before I went to school. And my parents saw on the coffee table were some lyrics to Hash Pipe. And I remember when I got back home, they definitely had some questions for Kevin. I would too, right? So I am in different kind of quarters here. Our landlord is doing some painting in the other room, so I didn't want to disturb him. And to be honest, I don't know if my landlord wants to know how insane or crazy his tenant is upstairs, because let's face it, it's some weird stuff. So quote of the day. This is Metallica, my first Metallica episode, about 2 months in. And, I don't only like Metallica. I like a lot of stuff. But with Metallica, it was my first front row rail experience on this day, 12 years ago, down in Manchester, Tennessee at the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. What a fun weekend that was. Going to get into it. But the quote of the day, I wanted it to be Metallica related. And this is from a song called Whiplash off their first record, Kill 'Em All. And they played it at Bonnaroo, which was sick, one of my favorites, at a hippie festival to play Whiplash. The show is through, the metal's gone, it's time to hit the road. Another town, another gig, again we will explode. Hotel rooms and motorways, the life out here is raw. We'll never stop, we'll never quit, because we're Metallica. That's the only song they mentioned their own band name in the whole entire catalog. We'll never stop. We'll never quit because we're Metallica. And live, instead of saying we're Metallica, James Hetfield, lead singer, says you're Metallica. It's always about the fans, and it's always been that way since day one. So the show, my Father's Day next weekend, my dad and mom bought us a weekend pass to Bonnaroo. It was on the field, on the ground, 50, 60,000 people. So my parents presented us this. This is the Bonnaroo pass for general admission. Pretty sweet. On the back there. Yeah. I think I cried. My parents got this for us, and I cried. 2008, 20 years old. I think I cried. That was one of the 2 times I cried when my parents got me a ticket. The first time was WWE Raw was coming to town. First front row passes to that. Even the warning that I gave my dad that Y2J was coming out with the fireworks, he still jumped up really high. He was there with us for WWE. So the WWE Raw, all of a sudden I'm going to Metallica down in Tennessee. So it was me, my twin brother, Ryan, and our good buddy, Joe Christ. And Joe, we've known since we were 5, 6 years old, street buds. It's a 13-hour drive south from Buffalo to Manchester, Tennessee. The furthest I went for a concert was 2 hours north to my first Metallica show in 2003 in Toronto. So this is all 3 of us driving straight road trip. I was too intimidated to drive that distance, so Ryan, I made him drive, and I blast the Rod Zombie and so on. We were Electric Wizard and stuff like that. But we packed into our Subaru, our car, home from college. So this is June of 2008. And we packed into our car, went to Libro's for some sauce. Awesome salad dressing. Libro's, if you ever come into town, the salad dressing is amazing. So we just hit the road and we got driving down there. And 13 hours, we were just blasting music, windows down, hitting these states I've never seen in my life. Inland a little bit, because when we'd go down to Florida for college, we would take the coastway. But we got down there, and the line of cars was just for miles. So we waited and waited. We got in, and each camp at this festival, it was separated off into different camps, but all the camps had different names of James Bond characters. Lo and behold, the camp that our car was directed to was a camp called Pussy Galore. So where could you find us? We were at the Pussy Galore camp, throwing frisbees and slugging beers. And there were 15-year-olds selling beers off wagons. The scene was just crazy. So Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival, it's really a hippie festival. Before American music festivals got really big over the past 10 years, there was Bonnaroo. In fact, when I met James a few years later, Metallica backstage 2011 Big Four, the one question he asked me after I mentioned Bonnaroo was, he asked me, how was Bonnaroo? It had a lot of respect. When James asked me a question, I was just freaking out. I was like, oh my God. But Bonnaroo is, it has Tool to, the Raconteurs to Pearl Jam to, Grateful Dead and so on. So Metallica opened the second day we got there. The first day we got there, we just roamed around. I saw people on drugs I've never been around, yet. And there were people being evacuated by the helicopters, and, there were topless girls walking around. So as a 20-year-old, it was pretty damn cool. And it was Joe Christ too. So the gig day rolled around, and like I said, how eclectic Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival is. On the day of the show, we lined up. We didn't even know that it was Central Time. We still thought it was Eastern Time. So here we were getting in line at like 11 a.m. and it was actually 10 a.m. So that's what we've done for Metallica concerts. You get in line way early, and there's always the same crazy faces, including you, Aaron. Met Aaron that show from Detroit. What's up, Aaron? And that show, that day, it was Ziggy Marley, and then the Raconteurs with Jack White, Led Zeppelin bluesy kind of band. And then Chris Rock came out and did a stand-up comedy skit. Obama was just elected the president, or I think he was about to be elected president of the United States. And Chris Rock was talking about how black the name Barack Obama is. And he went into a bunch of different craziness. I don't know, my mom's watching right now, so I'm going to hold off on that. That's the only thing I'm going to hold off on this episode. So Chris Rock spoke, he did a stand-up comedy skit, and then he came back out to introduce Metallica. And I just remember when he came back out after Ecstasy of Gold played from Good, the Bad, the Ugly, their intro music. He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnaroo, let me introduce to you the baddest motherfucking band in the world." And he put his microphone down, and he seriously looked at the crowd, and he was just, what the hell? I mean, we're right up front, stage left in front of Kirk. And out comes Metallica, and Lars throws his drink into the crowd right by us, and he counts in Creeping Death. And there were a few times that I've been to a show where I was like not even on the planet, and that was one of them. The last time I saw Metallica before Bonnaroo, it was 2004 at the arena. I was 16, but between 04 and 08, they never came around to the States. They were always overseas doing whatever. So like I said, when I cried when I got the ticket. Here comes Metallica. So between 04 and 08, I not only knew the songs back then, I know every single lyric to every song. And I've grown in love with these guys, just bejesus. And here comes Metallica in the flesh, on a stage, in person. And I'm singing along with James Hetfield, Creeping Death. It was out of this world. And Spin Magazine, you get the photographers and the videographers up front. They're up front for the first 3 songs usually. So if you go to any shows, you'll see cameramen and whatnot up there for the first 3 songs, and then security gets them out, and then it's just security up front. Not sure if you knew that. So within the first 3 songs, Spin Magazine was there, and they're videotaping, and they caught a video of me, Ryan, and Joe rocking out to For Whom the Bell Tolls, which I posted on my Instagram. And it was just, it's what Lars said, a complete mind fuck, Creeping Death, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Harvester of Sorrow. I mean, it was televised. We were right in front, so we were getting seen. It was just totally huge concert. I remember before For Whom the Bell Tolls played, Lars is on the bass drum getting everyone ready, and like, goon, goon, goon. Everyone's going, hey, 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 about to count in the song. And James pointed out to the crowd, and he's like, I want to wake those tents up over there, And I remember when he said that, I want to wake those tents up over there. It is a hippie festival. So here he is getting, the crowd up for Metallica. And I'm sure there were some people that were already hung over at 9 p.m. in their tents, and they're hearing the almighty Metallica play. Incredible concert. And what made it even more special, which I'll show you here. This is the bracelet that I had. I wore this for the following year after the show. I kept it on. So there's the bracelet right here. There you go. And the shirt. This is my go-to shirt these days at a Metallica show. This was designed by James Hetfield. Peace, love, metal, Metallaroo. I cut the sleeves off at the Fillmore back when. This was ripped in Indianapolis when I jumped into a pit during Ride the Lightning a few years ago. And there was a guy who I could tell was really intoxicated, but everyone was real still. There was a circle, but everyone was real still. I'm not one to mosh, but I was just in the moment arriving in Indianapolis, and I just was shoving some people, playfully, but the guy grabbed my shirt and he almost ripped it, so that would have sucked, but here we go. And the back of the shirt's pretty dope too. When I'm in line for hours upon hours, this is what most people see when I'm at shows. Make metal, not rain. Peace, love, and metal. This is my go-to shirt. So when the band sees me, you know, it's easy to see me in the white, right? But this is my claim to fame here. They see this shirt, that's it. And James Hetfield has looked this up and down every single show since. Good stuff. I'm going to take a look at some comments here. Let's see. Mike Pfeffer, the Pfeffer Nutter. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Appreciate it. My dad was asking if parking in that lot, did we feel like a cool cat? Yes, we felt like very cool cats parking in Pussy Galore parking lot and getting the beer pong going and going to the bathroom in the woods and frisbee and just the sun and having no rules, no nothing. We had our tents. We had a bigger tent. It was so cool. So there you go. The show was so amazing, but what even made it more amazing was I caught my very first Lars drumstick. I'm blessed. I have 8 Lars sticks. This was the first of 8. I know, Charlie, you haven't caught one yet. I'm a selfish bastard when it comes to the shows, but I promise you, next drumstick I catch, it's yours. This is Lars's stick that he used at Bonnaroo. Lars uses an aluminum stick with a nylon tip, nylon, and he wraps it in tape. Ever since the, I'd say the Load tour in the mid-90s, he's wrapped it with tape. Until the mid-90s, from early 80s to mid-90s, Lars was wood with a red Metallica logo and I think a nylon tip. But here you go. Your first front row Metallica show, and I get a goddamn drumstick. You know what helped how I got this drumstick? I mean, yeah, I was pointing and knew all the lyrics and knew when the time was to go crazy, but I flashed him this. The Metallica Club from 93 to 2015 had identification cards. And this is my very first identification card. I joined, I think, in 07 during the Bird School benefit shows. But I just flash it to him just to show that, you know, yeah, I'm a club member. So I flash it to him and I'm like, yo, get here. And there's a video on the big screen while Lars is throwing out sticks. You see me and Ryan and Joe like, oh, come here. So I flashed him this. You know, he came up, and then it's, again, in person, seeing Lars, and he's not on a CL 89 DVD or in a picture, which hung in my basement room, right in the center. I could. This is Metallica. James, Lars, Kirk, Cliff, R.I.P. This is my picture. Them being in pictures and videos, they're right there in person. So Lars, you know, he's got this drumstick that he was holding at the time, and he goes to throw it. He threw it right at me, right? Just for me. And all these hands came around, all these hands. I think there were like 6 hands on this one stick. So what I did was, I'm going to sacrifice myself here. So Ryan and Joe were holding it. I just jumped over everyone else. Just jumped over, you know, went like that. And Joe got it, and he kept it. And I later bought it off him for $50. Bonnaroo drumstick. It played so well at that show, which is a very vulgar song. It's a cover from Anti-Nowhere League, very punk rock. Again, my mom's watching, so I'm not going to go through lyrics. But that was the show. You know, we had to get back home after the show for Joe's graduation from high school. We were going to see Pearl Jam the following day. We were going to see Mastodon on the Crack the Sky tour. Who else? And I saw Pearl Jam later in 2013 in San Diego, but that would have been a righteous time to see him. But we had to get going. We left that night. After Metallica's set, DJ Tiesto came on, and then Kanye West at like 2 a.m. So that's how crazy, you know, Bonnaroo set lists, the lineups are. Kanye West just became a billionaire, I read recently. Who cares? A little fun fact for you. Steve Wood is with us right now. Happy birthday, Steve. All right. So, Ryan, do you remember anything else you want me to bring up about Metallica and Bonnaroo? Amazing. Everyone remembers their first, that was the first one. But this week, I took delivery of Mark Weiss's The Decade That Rocked. This book, Mark Weiss, in 1986, there was a poll amongst readers in UK, and it was asked who was the best rock photographer. And Ross Halfin actually came in at number 10. Ross Halfin has photographed Metallica for years and years and years, but Mark Weissguy, Weiss, he's from New York. Little picture of GNR right here on the front. These photos, the decade that rocked, 80 to 90. I love that decade. Love it. I know my dad doesn't, but this picture is Tommy Lee and Ozzy Osbourne on the 1984 Shout at the Devil tour. It was Ozzy and Motley Crue. This picture is at the bottom of the stairs in the Rainbow Bar and Grill of the bathroom. So as you walk upstairs, go to the bathroom, this one is right there at the bottom. And when I got this book, I go to check it back and I'm like, holy shit, this is probably one of my all-time favorite rock and roll pictures ever. The amount of debauchery that happened, it's just the epitome of sex, drugs, rock and roll on that tour. So that's Mark Weiss. He sent me a signed picture of this, which is very nice of him, very cool of him. But I bookmarked some of my favorite photos in this, and I want to show you just a few of them, and that's it. I think let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pictures. So first one, Decade That Rocked. I know, Mom, you've heard it all, but that'll wait. This is Richie Blackmore. I know Luke is tuning in here. Richie Blackmore of Deep Purple and Rainbow. Not many people know Richie Blackmore. He is a Jimmy Page level virtuoso on the guitar. Very private guy, extremely private. He was living in New York at the time, and this was in his home that Mark set up a studio. And this picture, I don't know, I just kind of stared at it when I saw it. The guy, when he his guitar playing is just ridiculous. It's a good fun fact, right? We did cut some fuckers there. We were the craziest ones in the show, so it didn't even matter, right? So I was talking about Motley Crue. This is them playing the US Festival. But this picture in particular of Nikki Sixx, I don't know. This is so rock and roll, this picture. Another picture I just kind of stared at. Fledgling band, Sunset Strip, Hollywood, California. And here they are playing the US Festival. That was the first time that they played. Yeah, Nikki, he was quoted right here. Nikki, he says, I remember being on the side of the stage as we were getting ready. I looked at the guys and we all looked at each other and we just all put out our fists together and didn't say a word because we knew. We just knew that we were going to do what we do. And on they became the almighty Motley Crue. Backstage Slayer. It's my bookmark. My favorite bookmark. One of my favorite bookmarks. You ever heard of David Lee Roth? All right. David Lee Roth of Van Halen. This is when he first went solo in the DLR band. Steve Vai on guitar, kind of a super group. There's Bon Jovi. He almost bought the Bills and took him to Toronto, so fuck him. Anyway, David Lee Roth, Slippery When Wet, it's a really good record. David Lee Roth, he was holding an audition for a music video he was about to film. I don't know what song it was. I don't remember. But he was in some bar or whatever, maybe the Cat House in Hollywood or whatever. But there's one of his producers or managers to his right. And girls would show up auditioning pretty much to be in the shoot. And they would actually take their boobs out and, put their ass in his face, whatever. And it's just, just to convince him. Here he is with his cigarette and drink, and it's just hilarious. If you read any rock and roll books, if David Lee Roth makes an appearance in them in a story, it's always the best story. So I was talking about Slippery When Wet, arguably the biggest rock record of the decade. I mean, Bon Jovi was huge. Hetfield had a "fuck Jovi" written on one of his guitars in the 80s. But you got to give it to Bon Jovi. They had an album cover shoot, and this didn't make the cover. Slippery When Wet. There you go. Another good shot. But, you know, I like the logo, Slippery When Wet. I think the yellow looks really good on her. Last picture from the Mark Weiss book. I got to give it. There were a few Metallica pictures in here. This one is a post-show shot when they're opening for Ozzy. Ozzy broke Metallica, by the way. Took him out in '86, and they were having a good time. R.I.P. Cliff Burton. Yeah. Love it. That's the Mark Weiss book. And shit, I think that's it. I got a haircut recently, first time in 4 months. My girlfriend thinks I look like a peaky fucking blinde, which I agree. Took a compliment to that. But I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. But when we go hang out, me and Ashlyn, a little bit later, I'm going to wear one of my new masks. You know, even though it's freeing up some of the rules, definitely want to make sure you're still wearing your mask, right? Yep, I'm a Metallica fan. I'm also an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and I like to wear it on my mouth. We'll be back. Next week, I'm going to interview my father, have a conversation with my father. It's Father's Day weekend, and I can't wait to pick his brain and surprise him with some questions. My dad's like, who's on next week? That's right, you are. So next week, Sunday, it's not going to be Saturday, so Sunday, Father's Day at noon. We'll be checking in from Williamsville, New York, and it's going to be a good time. So join us next week. In the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, and stay happy. I love you and thank you. Shoot a subscribe, right? If you like what you saw, I love subscribes. When I get to 100 subscribes, I get to customize my own URL. So thanks, guys. Have a beautiful day. I have my first solo open house tomorrow, hosting that. So rock and roll.